Welcome back. In this world, just swimming in information, figuring out what's true, dealing with all the division feels constant.
It really does. It's overwhelming sometimes.
So today we're diving into something the source calls the Jehudi key. It's this really interesting way of linking ancient ideas to our media mess today. And our mission here for this deep dive is basically to pull out the practical stuff. Can these old ideas actually help us understand, maybe even improve, how we deal with media?
Yeah, exactly. And central to this whole thing is Jehudi. You might know him as Thoth, or maybe Hermes in the Greek tradition.
Right, the god of wisdom, writing.
That's him. The source really focuses on him as the archetype of truthful communication.
Wisdom, yeah, but also tied into Ma'at, that Egyptian principle of truth, balance, cosmic order.
Okay.
He's called the scribe of the gods, and that's key. It suggests that getting information right, recording it accurately, sharing it truthfully, it's fundamental, almost sacred.
So like a divine standard for how we should communicate. That's the starting point. That's the core idea, yeah. That there is a standard rooted in truth and balance.
Okay. And the source links this to those big hermetic principles too, doesn't it? Like the all is mind, the universe is mental. How does that fit with Facebook feeds and news channels?
Oh, that's where it gets really powerful. If you accept that premise that reality is fundamentally mental, shaped by thought, by perception, then media, which is constantly feeding our minds with stories, images, ideas, it becomes this incredibly potent force. It's not just reporting on reality, it's actively helping construct our perception of it, for good or ill.
Wow. So it's literally building our mental universe.
That's the implication. And then there's the other big one you mentioned.
As above, so below. How does that apply?
Crucially, the source uses it to say there's a direct link, a mirroring. The above is like the mass media narrative, what's broadcast wide. The below is individual understanding, how society functions day to day.
So what's put out there? Makes sense.
Exactly. If the above, the dominant media story, is full of untruth, fear, fragmentation, the source argues you'll see that reflected below. In societal division, confusion, maybe even chaos, the media environment kind of sets the climate for our collective mind.
Okay, so Jehudi and Ma'at are the ideal truth. Balance. What's the main problem the source sees stopping us from getting there today?
It identifies this pattern, this challenge, and labels it Saul consciousness, operating within media.
Saul consciousness. Like King Saul from the Bible. Fear, ego, that kind of thing.
You got it, that archetype. It represents a mindset driven by fear, by protecting the ego, by needing to divide things into us and them.
And you see that in media. How?
Well, the source points to polarization, obviously. Outlets locking into rigid narratives, fueling conflict instead of understanding, but also, manipulative language, misinformation spreading like wildfire, conspiracy theories.
Anything that puts agenda over truth.
Basically, yeah. Anything prioritizing power or reinforcing a group identity over trying to get to verifiable truth. The source calls it politics of ego, or even wars of grievance. It's the polar opposite of that Jehudi Ma'at energy.
Right, because fear and division are fertile ground for misinformation. So how does this Jehudi key suggest we move away from that? What's the fix?
It introduces this idea called the SPQ. It draws a parallel with Saul of Tarsus becoming the Apostle Paul.
The transformation narrative.
Exactly. It's used as a metaphor for shifting from that rigid, divisive mindset towards something more like universal understanding, towards truth. Applied to media, it means, while moving away from reporting that just digs trenches deeper.
Okay.
It means encouraging open questions, trying to foster connection instead of just highlighting conflict, and really, really prioritizing verifiable truth over pushing an agenda.
So this goes deeper than just better fact checking, although that's part of it.
Much deeper. The source is hitting at a shift in the actual intention, the consciousness behind making media and even consuming it. It implies that media folks are, in a way, artists of reality. The stories they tell help shape the mental world we all live in.
That's a heavy responsibility.
Huge. Like Jehudi, the divine scribe.
Yeah.
A responsibility to try and align the work with truth, with balance, with Ma'at. The force even brings up things like the El-Rai-Isis synthesis.
As models for what, exactly?
As potential ways to think about creating narratives that actually unify and heal, instead of just deepening the divides. Moving beyond conflict as the only story.
Okay, let me try and pull this together. We've got this ancient framework, Jehudi, Ma'at, those hermetic ideas.
Right.
Basically saying there's a standard for truth and media powerfully shapes our reality.
Correct.
Then there's the problem. The Saul consciousness driving division, fear, fake news.
The obstacle.
And the proposed path, the SP key, is about a fundamental shift in consciousness back towards seeking truth and unity.
Yes, precisely. The source frames the Jehudi key not just as history, but as a kind of compass for us now, navigating this crazy media world.
A compass, I like that.
It's a call for everyone, creators and consumers, to be more conscious, to actively choose truth and balance, over just reacting to fear and division. The idea is, by aligning with these deeper principles, media could actually become a tool for healing, for transcendence even.
It's quite profound, isn't it? That the way we communicate, the stories we tell and consume, can either lock us into these cycles of fear or potentially guide us somewhere better.
Absolutely.
So the source is really saying that transforming media and our own experience of it, it has to start with a personal commitment to seeking truth, using this ancient wisdom as a guide. Which leaves us with a pretty big thought, doesn't it? If media helps build your mental universe, what kind of reality are you actually helping to build or consume with the stories you click on, the things you share?
That's the question.